about Cobra Kai Season 2, which really packs a punch. Hey everyone, it's Joshua E. Faulkner. Welcome to the cinema, where we talk about all things Cobra Kai, Marvel, and all other big franchises of movies. Comment down below what you thought of Cobra Kai Season 2, because we all share different opinions on the love for Cobra Kai, and I'd love to hear your own take on this personal season. So overall, this season really tackles a whole lot to deal with, as we deal with the aftermath of the All Valley tournament, the loss of Robbie and what is all gone between him and his relationship with his father, and just the dynamic you get as the growth of Miguel and Hawk and all those other characters of Cobra Kai ensues, and the growth of the dojo ensues as we get Kreese back on the table, back in the dojo and ready to fight, and we get more of his backstory, not so much in the army side of things, but a hint at that, but also generally where he has been and how we are going, as he has waited for anyone and Johnny to come back and restart the dojo. And then we get a fun episode with him and his friends, which was a nice recognition and sending off one of the members of his older team. That was a nice reminiscing episode. And overall, this season goes through a lot with Daniel trying to train Robbie and Samantha, as he is now starting the Miyagi-Do dojo, and that interferes with his work a whole lot and shows that there's not a whole lot of balance going on within his life, which is a great dynamic to set up, and they really redeem that as he is starting to make amends with his wife later on in the season, and he's starting to make his mistakes and starting to realize how well he can balance each of them, which we'll see a lot more in the future seasons. But just the dynamic that goes throughout this season, just Samantha going through fights and the danger that is shown by what the effect it is on Amanda LaRusso and how she sees her daughter getting hurt and what she is having to go through, and just the parent protection that you get from the LaRussos, and how that differs from what we see in Cobra Kai, some of that, and just some of the dynamics you get with some of the newer characters. Terry, for one, is a stronger idea that explores these culture of these kids and their backgrounds, how they grow up, what they've dealt with, how their parents were treated in different situations, that really adds so much to these characters. And while some of the situations, it could differ a little bit in some areas where it does feel a very high school drama-esque, but in the same way, I don't mind that sort of stereotypes of where they're going with it and the way they're interworking that within Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, and what their motives are within each character is really strong. And that brings a lot of good fights throughout the season, and also one of my favorite training exercises within the concrete mixer. You're just wondering how they're going to do something and how ambitious they go about doing that route with Johnny leading that group. And then the dynamic you get between Johnny and Kreese, as they are a little bit of a feud where Kreese is trying to take over, trying to bring Cobra Kai back to their own ways. And by the end of the season it does, which it only makes sense, as Cobra Kai never dies, and this brings such a different feud to the look of it. And the ending of this season hits hard, not just with the fight, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but Johnny having to deal with the mistakes he's made, and how Miguel has really gotten hurt, and just all that has dealt with him being a father figure, and Miguel being his one son that he's really looking after as of recently, that just really hits a hard toll on him. And then his reaching out to Ali is bringing back a character in the future, not too long, but just a nice little nod to where we're going as he's dealing with the internet and trying to figure out this Facebook and this YouTube and figuring out how to really handle all things. But in the ending, it really hits hard with what Johnny's dealing with, and then, but especially talking about the fights, the cafeteria fight and the ending fight is some of my favorite fights of the whole show in general, not even just this season, just what we get with the cafeteria in the mall and having Hawk go against Dimitri as Dimitri's starting to train, as he got betrayed by Cobra Kai in his own eyes, of course, with how he was punched by Kreese and what they're dealing with. And again, you get the Hawk idea where he's going against his own best friend in that he's had in the past and still seeking revenge, and Dimitri's still sort of a little upset with that as well, still wanting to be a nerd in their own means, and just the way they go about that feud and how it really affects the character motives and growth as well within what their ideas are of what is right for their own ideas is just really working well to really captivating me, really making me look to the next episode, because they also are rather short at a half hour rather than a 50-minute show or an hour show, that this really handles everything rather well. While there is some pacing issues in some ideas, and I wasn't a huge fan of the dating episode, what they're going through the relationship. It works to the characters' means of Johnny and who he's dating, and then Daniel and Amanda making amends. But overall, there is some iffy parts where it's just not so compelling to me personally, that really draws me into what is drawing the story forward in terms of where the kids are at and how the training is going. But that ending school fight, especially between Terry and Samantha, and then Robbie and Miguel, and then the dynamic you get between the high school drama about relationships and all that, and then also integrating all the other fights, is just really strong, and I highly enjoy what we get in the very end. Just hitting hard with Robbie knocking Miguel off of the two-story, as Miguel is finally following Johnny's lessons and not doing full Cobra Kai no mercy. He shows mercy to Robbie, but through all the emotions that Robbie's going through, he shows no mercy, and it ends up so bad and still shocks me and makes me cry every time. Just going through this season was tough and still resonating with me, but I still highly enjoyed what all this season had to offer. So that's just all my thoughts on Cobra Kai Season 2. But before I begin giving you my final rating, make sure to comment down below your thoughts, and also like this video and smash that subscribe button so you can get more Cobra Kai and movie content coming soon. And I have to rate this season a 7.5 out of 10. While there are some weaker episodes, it does have some highest highs of all the season. So that's just my personal thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours, so we have a nice discussion down below. Be sure to check out my review of the first Cobra Kai season if you miss it.